Hi, everybody. How are you? I hope you're having a great time. Welcome to the pre service session on teaching skills in the EFL classes. Welcome. My name is Gisele Cruz. Well, this session intends to show how skills are a key part of lessons when teaching English as a foreign language. Because language serves the essential purpose of communication. And it is used in an immensely diverse range of situations and purpose. That's why it's viewed as a tool. And since it's the only mean of instruction in the schools and outside schools, it's also the way that people will gain knowledge. So that's why so many people are searching for a second language, a foreign language, so they can break barriers and communicate to much more people. So then, Gene Scrivener in 2005, after a very long time studying English language teaching and being a valuable member of the EOT community, presented us with this model that has divided the matter of English language teaching in two key subjects: the language systems, the knowing part, for phonology, lexis, grammar, function and discourse, and the language skills. Today we are focused on the doing then, the language skills, the doing part. There are two kinds of language skills: the productive skills and the receptive skills. Let's dip into it. Okay, let's dive into it. I think that's better, right? Let's dive into it. So here we go. We have language systems and language skills. And it's really important to read what is in blue that says they are not independent. They are inevitably interrelated. Skills can only be improved with the help of systems. So, what we are studying here: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. It's not that grammar, lexis, pronunciation, and discourse are not important, but we are working on this one because, as a matter of fact, students will decide if they can or cannot produce language, speak a language, if they can speak it or write on it or listen and understand it. So, language skills are kind of the way they measure their learning. Yes? So, it's important to say that when we learn a language, the first thing we do is listen to it. And then we start speaking it, and then we learn how to read it at school, and then finally we learn about how to write. Probably when students are learning a second language, they are no longer in this. They are no. They are not taking this order anymore because they already know a set of language, a certain level of code and decoding that allow them to do these skills in a different order. So they can listen and read already, and they can write things as long as they are provide model. Yeah. So based on what Gene Scrivener wrote in his book Learning Teaching, a guide to good language teachers, a guidebook for English language teachers, sorry. Um, Hashad El Sad prepared this beautiful presented us with this beautiful chart, and where he is, you know, presenting us with a summary of the idea, identifying and practicing. Yeah, so I identify, I know the language, and then I put it in practice through my skills. So here we go. Four main skills: listening, ability to decode the meaning of an audio string; reading, ability to decode the meaning of a written string; writing, the ability to encode thoughts and concept into written form; and speaking, ability to encode thoughts and concept into oral form. So those are the four skills. And Brazilian students, they usually struggle the most with the speaking part. But it's the part they care about the most as well. So when teaching English, we should have in mind that students will get input through the receptive skills, listening, reading, and output through the productive skills, speaking and writing. One is spoken input and output, and the other is written, spoken and output. So, having this in mind, it's also important to understand that they do not work independently, they work together. So skills are integrated in lesson. And we are going to have an example further on the presentation. So, what is listening all about? It's crucial to effective communication. There is a need for the listener to be efficient in the art of listening. And this begins in the classroom. And why is it important? What's the importance of listening? It improves it improves the speaking and pronunciation. The more we listen, the more it can produce the sounds and the cultural aspects of the language. Develops interpersonal skills. So I have to listen so I can respond to that. And receptive skill that need active participation. Yeah. So there is a reaction to the things that I listen, right? Even if I don't understand it, that's still a reaction. And then what are the challenges? Uncertain comprehension. So students complain a lot they cannot listen to what is being said in the listening, right? That is a, that is a problem with the speed of speech, since they are not used to the way native speakers talk. Like sometimes they can complain that they speak too fast. Familiarity with local speech, accent, and vocabulary happens in all language, not only in English. Missing words, concept, instructions, lack of confidence to ask for repetition, and hearing difficulties. So those are all the challenges we are going to face when we present listening activities in our lessons. Not all of them at the same time, but it's important to understand that if I have a difficult dialogue for my students to comprehend, I should go for an easy task. If I have an easy dialogue or an easy piece of audio, I think it's really clear what is in there. I should go for a more difficult uh, challenge activity for them. So, challenge can be overcome, and students have to be reassured that listening is part of their learning process, and the more they do it, the better they get at it, of course. And then we have the reading part. Reading is all about exposing learning to vocabulary of different topics. This skill is central to effective speaking and writing because the reader will be equipped with new lexical choices and the right way to use them. this part is really important to address the idea that students should get authentic material. This way, they will get exposed to authentic English. It's really important that this is the focus here. Okay, so register and purpose. So students will, through reading, understand when something is formal and informal, and what is the rating for. Am I making a list? Am I writing a letter of recommendation? Am I writing an email? Making a complaint? What is it about? So, develops knowledge of language structure. It's really important that the students understand that our, our native language has structures that are specific to our language, and in English they are going to be different. So through reading they can, be exposed to those specifics of the language in English, of course. And it also develops vocabulary, specific vocabulary for a subject, of course. For example, what are the challenges? Fluency. Some of our learners may not be as fluent in reading, even in their native language. So, pace is important here as well. Decoding new words, so they might get frustrated because they want to understand every single word. So it's about the teacher to ensure that they read through the text, even if they don't understand one or two words. Vocabulary may be a problem if it, for example, not in context, it wasn't worked before. Comprehension, relevance, and volume. How much do they have to read in a lesson? How much would they take out of a lesson after the read? All right, and then there is writing. Writing is considered one of the basic skills which learners of any language need to acquire. Good writing skills allow one to communicate with a larger audience. So it's really important to write. Yeah. It's also the main method of assessment. Essential skill for exams, errors are made more obvious, and there are various formats, styles, and functions depending on the subject area. So students will be exposed to a variety of things, and again, it's all about communication. So what can they communicate through writing? Facing challenges like lack of knowledge of key vocabulary, language instructions, sentence, paragraph, text. Again, students may lack writing instructions in their own native language. So it's important that I don't take it for granted that my students already know how to start a paragraph and finish a paragraph, and maybe they don't. So it's also important to, when working in writing, to take this in consideration and take some time off the lesson to teach those things. Register and purpose, so formal and informal, what is it for? Note taking, paraphrasing, and academic conduct, if it's possible, depending on the level. And then the one that will take my students to the next level, who they will use as a sense of self-evaluation how good they are speaking, if they are speaking any good, right? So there we go. It's a very important aspect of language skills. In fact, the success of an ESL learner is often measured by the level of their fluency in the English language. So how much they speak is important to them. It's really important to them. So it's the most obvious skills. It's the most interactive skills, something they can show off. develops interpersonal skills as listening, especially team working, and it can be used in assessment. So, again, develop speaking skills is something that will push the students further and show progress more than the other ones. What are the challenges? Lack of confidence, uncertainty about timing, vocabulary, interaction, decoding of nonverbal information, lack of knowledge of presentation skills. So, students may know structure and vocabulary, but they don't know what is the intonation, how they put that in a sentence, and to put it together in a paragraph. Can they read it? Can they not? It's really important to work all those things again, to take some time off the lesson, off the grammar part, off the lexical part, to teach them and to work on their confidence so they can speak even more. Okay, so there we go. When teaching input, listening and reading, receptive skills. Use a norm up or a need or a lead in to set the scene for the main task. I'm going to show you this in a further step of the presentation. Focus on a reading or listening strategy. Explanation and demonstration of the reading or listening, sample of strategies such as predicting, inferring, meaning from the context, scheming, scanning, application, and practice. And then there is a comprehension test that starts from general to detailed comprehension. That is a text to work with linguistic aspects of the language, for example, vocabulary and grammar, and then a follow-up task that will connect or take it into the real life like activity. When teaching outputs, it's really, 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 really important to model language. At first, students are supposed to look at the language and through context, and they will see what is language should be produced and what order, with what intonation, what are the options. So model language is step one. And then we can work on some control practice. And after they master the control practice, where they have fewer options, giving the new use of focus, vocabulary, and structure so they can use it more freely. This way, they will get the hang of speaking within context, for example, writing something in this context. So here we go. This is a real life skills development center lesson that I applied last year, and I brought it here. So how did I started my lesson? I started my lesson with a wheel that students would spin the wheel, and after spin the wheel, they should name a city in each continent or country. And then after that, they were supposed to name those cities. So what places are these ones? Probably by the landmarks, they can tell that this is Sao Paulo, this is New York, this is Paris, and this is London. And then next, after this one, they were going to listen to an audio file where they should identify what city is being described. In the case of this audio file, it is Paris. It's a super fast, like 30-second audio file so they can, just identify what is the city being described. After they do that, they listen to it one more time. Again, they got about 23 seconds to listen to it, and they choose what places are being described, mentioned, not described, mentioned in the conversation. And those are restaurants, train stations, and parks. So someone is describing Paris and talk about its restaurants, train stations, and park. So in this part of the listening, we are working on specific information. And on the part before that, we were just, identifying like the general idea. Where in the world are they talking about? And as a follow up task, I decided to work where is it? So it's near the, and they were supposed to tell me it's one place near the other. So where's the movie theater? They should say it's near the cafe, it's near the post office, it's near the bus depot. So they should say things like this. And the main goal for my lesson was to identify name and describe the location for those places in the city. Okay. So my final thoughts on when I plan a lesson and I include skills developed in it are all four skills are interconnected. They support each other and they should not be taught independently. Skills and systems are closely intertwined. Skills ought to be improved only with the help with the systems. So I don't think students can go and get to an advanced level if they ignore completely grammar and phonology and lexical choices. Actually, I think that, and research has proved, one cannot work without the other. Listen and read both rely on the input from an outside source and require knowledge of the language, background knowledge, and comprehension skills. The productive skills of writing and speaking are more complex. They require taking knowledge of a language a step further to actually produce a new language. And recent research has put culture as a fifth skill. So we work on listening, reading, writing, and speaking throughout culture. Yeah. So here is just another graph on things that can happen during our lesson, like how to listen, what to listen for, how to accelerate your listening skills. So, things we can work throughout the course as well. How to read, what beginners should read, how to accelerate your progress, how and when to use a dictionary. Pronunciation, grammar, how to gain confidence, conversational melody, what to write, grammar, how to correct, how to avoid mistakes. So, working both the spoken language and the written language. So those are my references. They will be available for further reading, further visiting, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. See you next time.